Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Buffalo Sports Center. I am Don, and today we are going to preview this intriguing Week 3 matchup between the Buffalo Bills and the undefeated Washington Commanders. Before I get to the preview, though, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Of course, subscribe here on the YouTube, follow us on Instagram, and join the Discord. All three of those links are down in the description box down below. So, without further ado, folks, let's talk a little bit about the Washington offense. Led by quarterback Sam Howell, this Commies offense has surpassed people's expectations through the first 2 weeks of the season. And much of that credit can come down to not only Howell, but also new offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy, coming over from, of course, the Kansas City Chiefs. Against the Cardinals in Week 1, everything seemed a little bit rusty, but in the end, they got the job done. But last week against the Broncos, they were much improved. The second half specifically was an offensive explosion, with the Broncos coming back from 18 down to eventually win the game by 2. Howell threw 39 times, completing 27 of those passes and having 299 passing yards, plus 2 touchdown throws. On the ground, it was the Brian Robinson show, with him carrying the rock 18 times for 87 yards and also having 2 scores. Antonio Gibson can also run, but he seems to be really struggling out of the gate here. Howell's favorite targets are, of course, good wide receiver Terry McLaurin, who on Sunday had 54 yards on 5 catches, and behind him are plenty of weapons, including De'Ami Brown, Jahan Dotson, and former Buffalo Bill Logan Thomas. They've finally shown some life. But can they keep doing it against a hungry and energized Bills defense? The Bills defense on Sunday versus the Raiders was nothing short of spectacular, limiting the Raiders to just 240 yards of total offense and notably handing Josh Jacobs his worst day ever in the NFL, with him rushing the ball 9 times for -2 yards. The Bills looked hungry, ferocious, aggressive, and after that embarrassing Week 1 loss to the Jets, of course they should. They absolutely should, given the talent on their roster. Everybody from Dorian Williams to Terrell Bernard to Matt Milano. By the way, Bernard and Milano both had an interception on Jimmy G. Everybody across the board played very good for the Bills defense. Greg Rousseau had a great tackle for loss as well. It was a fantastic performance. Well, outside of the first drive, of course, where the Raiders ran down the Bills' outside edges. The Bills looked slow and odd looking on the first drive, but after that, it was lights out for the Raiders. The Bills easily put them to bed on defense, and it will be really fun to see if they can continue this momentum going against the Commanders on Sunday. And we'd better hope that the Bills' offense also continues to do what they were doing against the Raiders, because like the defense, they came out looking to send a message to not only their fans, but also to the NFL world at a large. Josh Allen had a serious bounce-back game, throwing 31 for 37 for 274 yards and getting 3 touchdown passes. He was at first patient and took what the defense was giving to him, which is what we were hoping to see from Allen after that abysmal 3-interception performance against the Jets. But once the Raiders started to become a little more desperate, that's when Allen started to use his legs more. He started to look downfield a bit more, and when he did go downfield, he was usually finding Gabe Davis, who had 6 catches for 92 yards on Sunday. And he also found Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid, his 2 tight ends, in the short game with great accuracy. Kincaid was looking great. Stephon Diggs, of course, usually pretty good, and this time he was good, getting 66 yards through the air. Dawson Knox, like I mentioned, kind of featured, but I would like to see a little more involvement from him. He only did have 3 catches for 10 yards, including that rollout touchdown grab from Allen to Knox. On the ground, it was definitely as well the James Cook show. He had 123 rushing yards. Latavius Murray had a touchdown run. It was also a touchdown day for Damian Harris as well, but James Cook was most obviously the feature back for the Bills, and that is exactly what I was looking for after he really struggled in the second half of that Jets game like most of the rest of the offense. The offensive line as well was actually pretty competent, and they only let Josh Allen get sacked twice throughout the game, which is pretty good for a Bills offensive line post-2020. Now, it would be good if they did this 1 week. It would be even better if the Bills offense continued to do this throughout the next couple of weeks, in fact, the rest of the season. But they will face a pretty good opposition coming in the form of the Washington Commanders defense. Usually they're pretty feisty, but on Sunday that wasn't necessarily the case, as they gave up nearly 400 yards to a Russell Wilson-led offense. They are led, of course, by their vaunted defensive line, featuring Deron Payne, Chase Young, Montez Sweat, and Jonathan Allen. Behind them are notably Jamin Davis and Cody Barton at the linebacker position. Cameron Curl and Kendall Fuller also are in the secondary. And we can't keep going on without mentioning the player with the best name in football, David Mayo, a serviceable middle linebacker for Washington. Now, they didn't play great against Denver, giving up 33 points and almost throwing the game away at the end with that miraculous Hail Mary throw by Russell Wilson. Now, they did get a little lucky as they were able to stymie the Denver Broncos on their subsequent 2-point attempt afterwards, but they did get the win. They did enough to get the win. They dug their heels in and helped the Commies get to 2-0 for the first time since 2011. But on Sunday, they're going to have to do just more than just stay alive. They're going to have to carry Washington, probably, to a victory in Landover. The Bills are looking to keep up the race for the number 1 seed. The Commies are trying to vie for their first 3-0 start in 18 years. Drop your predictions, folks, in the comment section down below. And without further ado, here is what the BSC panel, plus special guest, the Base Commander fan on Instagram, here's what they are predicting for this Week 3 contest.
Isaiah McKenzie in motion. Allen on the run for the end zone. Leaping in the end zone is Emmanuel Sanders, and that's going to be a Bills touchdown.
That you don't see for most quarterbacks around the NFL, and that's a great job by him.